She stopped me in the middle of the kitchen, grabbed my wrist, and said the words I still can't shake. "You've been touching me for 3 months, but you've never actually reached me." The fluorescent light buzzed above us. Her eyes weren't angry, they were exhausted. And the worst part was, I had no idea what she meant. I thought I'd been doing everything right, but standing there watching her let go of my wrist like it burned her, I realized I'd been missing something fundamental, something no one ever taught me about what a woman actually feels when a man puts his hands on her. This is what I learned, and it cost me everything to figure it out. I met Diane at a work conference in October. She was 46, I was 32. She ran logistics for a medical supply company, practical, direct, the kind of woman who didn't waste words. I noticed her hands first, the way she held her coffee cup with both palms wrapped around it, the way she touched the corner of a document before reading it, like she needed to feel things before trusting them. We ended up at the same hotel bar that night. She was alone. I was avoiding my room. The conversation started with work complaints. Then it shifted to something else, quieter things, failed marriages, regrets, the strange loneliness of traveling alone. By midnight, I told her more than I'd told anyone in years. She didn't touch me once that night, not a single time. But when she finally got up to leave, she paused, looked at me for a long second, then brushed her fingertips across the back of my hand, just once, light as paper. I felt it for hours. We exchanged numbers, started texting. The texts became calls. The calls became something I couldn't explain to anyone else, because from the outside it looked like nothing. We weren't dating. We weren't sleeping together. But she was the first person I thought about in the morning, and I didn't understand why. 3 weeks later, I drove 4 hours to see her. She opened her door wearing a gray sweater and no makeup. The apartment smelled like coffee and lavender. She smiled when she saw me, but she didn't hug me. She just said, "You came," and I said, "I had to." That was the beginning. The first time I tried to touch her, I did what I always did. I reached for her waist during a conversation, let my hand rest there, confident, easy. She didn't pull away, but something shifted in her face. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Touching you." "No," she said. "You're placing your hand on me. That's different." I didn't understand. She stepped back, leaned against the counter, crossed her arms, but softly, not defensive, more like she was thinking. "When I was younger, I would have let that slide," she said. "I would have let a man put his hands wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted, because I didn't know how to ask for what I actually needed." She looked at me. "I'm not young anymore, and I need something else." I asked her what that was. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked past me, close. Her shoulder brushed my chest, and I felt heat spread through my ribs. Then she said, "When you touch a woman, ask yourself one thing first. Are you reaching for her, or are you trying to take something from her?" I stood there, replaying every touch I'd ever given, to girlfriends, to dates, to women who'd let me in and eventually walked away. I'd never once asked myself that question. That night, she taught me the first touch. She said, "Put your hand on my lower back, but don't press. Don't guide. Just let me feel that you're there." I did, and she exhaled. Long, deep, like something unlocked. "That's the difference," she whispered. "Protection without possession." I didn't sleep that night, not because of desire, because something in me was waking up. Over the next few weeks, she showed me things I didn't know I was missing. There was the way she'd hold my hand, not laced fingers, not tight grips. She'd rest her palm against mine, thumbs barely touching. She called it breathing room, space inside connection. She said most men hold hands like they're making a claim. But a mature woman doesn't want to be claimed. She wants to be chosen. Again and again. There was the way she touched my face. One night we were talking on her couch, close. Her knee pressed against mine. She reached up and brushed her fingers across my jaw, not seductive, not teasing. It was like she was learning my face, memorizing something important. She said, "This is how you tell a woman she matters. Touch her face like she's not a body. Touch her like she's a person you're trying to see." I started crying. I don't know why. I hadn't cried in years. She didn't comfort me. She just left her hand there. That made it worse. And better. There was the shoulder touch, the one she gave me in her kitchen when I told her about my father. She didn't say anything, just placed her hand on my shoulder and let the weight sink in. She said, "Words fail, but pressure doesn't. A woman feels steadiness through touch. She feels that you're not running." And there was the one that broke me open. She was standing by the window, looking out at the rain. I came up behind her, didn't speak, just wrapped my arms around her from behind, slow, resting my chin on her shoulder. She leaned back into me, let her whole weight settle. We stayed like that for 15 minutes. When she finally turned around, her eyes were wet. She said, "Do you know how long it's been since someone held me like I wasn't going anywhere?" I didn't. I couldn't imagine it, but she told me. Years. It had been years. And I realized something that night. The touches that create emotional attraction aren't about skill. They're about presence, about making a woman feel like she's not alone, like she's not a performance, like time has stopped and you're both just there. Nowhere else. Nothing else. Just the feeling of skin against skin and someone who isn't rushing. Then I ruined it. We were in my car, parked outside her building. The night had been good, soft. She was laughing at something I'd said, and I kissed her, but not the way she'd been teaching me. I kissed her the old way, the way that takes. She pulled back. I saw it in her eyes, the shift. "I thought you understood," she said. "I do." "No." Her voice was flat, tired. "You were playing along, you were learning moves, you didn't actually feel it. That's not true. Then why did you just do that?" I had no answer. She got out of the car. Didn't slam the door. That would have been easier. She just closed it quietly and walked away. I sat there for an hour, engine off, streetlight flickering overhead, and I replayed every moment, every lesson, every time she'd opened something inside me and I'd accepted it like a gift but never really changed. She didn't respond to my texts for a week. When she finally called, her voice was calm, but distant, like she was reading from a script. "I've done this before," she said, "with men who seemed different, who seemed like they understood. But when the moment came, they reverted. They always revert." I wanted to argue, to explain, but she was right. She said, "I'm not angry at you. I'm disappointed in myself for hoping." That sentence destroyed me. I thought about all the women who'd left me before, the ones who said I was great on paper but something was missing, the ones who stopped kissing me back, the ones who grew quiet and cold before they finally walked away. I thought they were the problem. I was wrong. The problem was me. The problem was that I'd been touching women my whole life without ever really reaching them. Diane saw it immediately, and she tried to teach me. She opened her chest and showed me where the real wounds lived, and I still grabbed instead of held. The fallout wasn't dramatic. There was no screaming, no fight, just a slow withdrawal. She started texting less, then stopped. I drove past her building once, hated myself for doing it, saw her through the window reading something with a cup of tea. She looked peaceful. I didn't stop. I drove home and sat in my apartment with the lights off, and I understood that some mistakes don't explode. They just dissolve. They take something you almost had and turn it into something you'll never get back. Months later, I started over. Not with her. That door was closed, but with myself. I stopped trying to touch to impress. I started touching to connect. I learned to hold without gripping, to rest my hand without demanding, to kiss like I was offering something, not taking it. And slowly, something shifted. Women started leaning into me. Not because I was charming, not because I said the right things, because they felt something different, something safe. A woman told me once that she didn't know why, but she trusted me. I hadn't done anything yet. Just placed my hand on her lower back as we walked through a door. But she felt it. The difference. I thought about Diane every time. I wondered if she knew, if she could somehow feel that her lessons hadn't been wasted. I never contacted her. It didn't feel right, but I carry her voice with me. Every time I touch someone new, every time I slow down, every time I ask myself, am I reaching for her or am I trying to take? That question changed everything. I'm writing this at 2 a.m. The house is quiet. My wife is asleep upstairs. Sometimes I'll stand in our bedroom doorway and watch her breathe, just for a moment. Then I'll walk over, sit on the edge of the bed, brush my fingers through her hair without waking her, and I'll feel something I didn't know I was capable of. Connection that doesn't need anything back. Diane never knew this, but she didn't just teach me how to touch a woman. She taught me how to love one, and I'm still learning.